I want to be in business for a long time. I've been in business for 20 years. I'm making decisions today that are going to have impact in 5 years, 10 years. I don't want to shortchange myself for a quick buck. I want to build something to last.
100%.
And that's where a marketing channel like PPC, you're building something that's going to pay dividends more and more over time because you're building to the algorithm.
I think you need to think about marketing channels, not just from the standpoint of ROI, but also from the standpoint of ease of getting the deals closed. Because if you look at a company that runs on cold call versus one that runs on PPC, the whole staff is different.
This is what we found in our business. PPC is someone's motivated right now, and 9 times out of 10, we're the only ones on the appointment because they reached out to us. When it's cold calling and there's 6 months of nurturing to close it, guess who else has that same list?
Everybody else is
Everyone else.
Yeah. Guys, we are going to be kicking off another PPC video in our PPC series here on the YouTube channel. We've had Brandon on, and he's done, I think, 7 or 8 videos. You guys can check those out in the playlist. We'll put the link in the description. But it was great because we really started to break down the mechanics of PPC, pay-per-click, and we're adding Cody Hofhine into the mix. So Cody's my good friend. Him and I do a lot of business together, co-founder of Joe Homebuyer. And I own some franchises, so we do a lot together, a lot of business together.
And that hat looks so good.
Doesn't it look good on me?
Good
Yeah.
grief.
I have like 4, I have all your paraphernalia.
I love it. I
Looks
love
good.
it.
I don't have the shirt on though.
Hey, it's all right. I got you.
But guys, we are going to bring a combined effort here, and we're going to be talking about one of the most highly misunderstood marketing channels. Would you agree?
I would.
And on this video, we're going to be talking about 3 lies, the 3 most common lies or misunderstandings about PPC. And if you don't know what PPC is, it stands for pay-per-click, and it's essentially Google ads driving inbound leads for your real estate business, right? Did I say that about as easy as you can?
You nailed it.
Okay. Now, there's some misconceptions out there. I talk to a lot of people that are like, PPC, wrong time, not for me, I don't understand it, too expensive, all these different things. And so what we want to do is we really want to break this down and remove some of these barriers that you might have around it. I think the first one, ready for the first one? I think the first one is PPC and PPL are the same thing. And I think that's something that I hear all the time. People are really confused about that. PPL meaning pay per lead versus PPC, pay per click. So Brandon, maybe we start there. Like, why is that one of the biggest misunderstandings in our industry?
I could tell you that it is. I don't even know why. Maybe it's because they both have like the same.
A P and a P?
Yeah, like the 2 P's in a row, and then
2 of the 3 letters were the same. They've got to be the same.
yeah, that's how you.
But not all PPs are the same.
I don't know where you're going, but yes, I agree with you.
Maybe that's where it comes from.
That was something you would have thought of, but I thought of it
You
first.
beat me to it, and that's maybe why I answered the way I did, because I should have beat you to that.
Not all PPs are the same.
Yeah, this is
What's
true.
different about PPL and PPC?
So PPL and PPC are no more similar to each other than really any other 2 marketing channels. If you look at PPL, it's pay per lead. PPC, pay per click. Those are both just methods of paying for things, but it's the underlying channel that matters. We have this framework.
What you just said, though, you're saying whether it's direct mail or PPC, we're saying they're the same thing as PPL and PPC. Is that what you just said?
Yeah, basically, pay per lead is no more similar to PPC than it is to direct mail. Maybe one of the things that happens is pay per lead companies kind of they let people think that pay per lead is PPC, and they kind of egg that on a little bit because PPC has such a great reputation for lead quality, and they want to be associated with that.
So kind of ride on that wave.
But if you'll remember, I came to your event last year and talked about, I put like every marketing channel on the scale, from like outbound to inbound. And I remember you asked me, you texted me after I got home, and you're like, well, I want to use this graphic, but where's PPL on this thing? And I said, well, Jerry, it's not there because it's not a marketing channel. So why is it not a marketing channel? It's just a way to buy leads, right? But every lead that you get through PPL, it came from something else. The PPL company could be doing PPC, they could be doing direct mail, they could be doing cold call, it could be cold email, it could be anything.
And they don't really talk about it because it's not so much relevant to the consumer, to the buyer, because you just know you want a vetted lead that you can talk to that wants to sell their house. So like for me, I don't really care if you got it on YouTube or Facebook or wherever. I mean, it's less relevant.
Sure.
Right?
You're just buying leads.
I'm just buying leads.
But it is relevant in the sense that the lead quality is really different from
Depending
different
on where
channels.
it came from.
I agree.
Yeah.
I already know where this is going.
So you could, Yeah, you could just be like buying leads from PPL. Maybe you're buying them for $400 a piece, and you're getting a great return on investment all as well. And then tomorrow, that PPL company could change something in their marketing. And your marketing channel may have just switched from SEO to cold call. And your lead cost stays the same. And now your business doesn't work anymore because you didn't have a say in that thing changing underneath.
So what you're saying is where the lead comes from could drastically affect the quality of the lead, even though it's a lead you can buy, it's in the market you want or whatever. So not all leads are created equal, even if you're buying it, you know, a vetted lead.
Let me give you an example, Jerry, on this. This is I'm thinking this in our own personal business. If a cold caller strums up a lead for my business, or Brandon Bateman and Bateman Collective strums up a lead, I'm going for Bateman's lead all day long. Why? Because it's someone that came inbound versus a cold call is an outbound lead. That outbound lead is going to be a nurturing process. But I didn't even think about the PPL being it's just how we get leads. So it could be 5 different ways to get that lead. I didn't even think about that. But as an owner, I'm taking that lead, a PPC lead, over a direct mail lead all day long, because that's an inbound versus direct mail is an outbound approach, where PPC is an inbound approach. Meaning someone saying, I want to sell my home, I'm paying a lot more for that. 100%.
Yeah, and I kind of had this suspicion for a long time. I like to be pretty data-driven with stuff, right? So I keep on hearing from people that like their PPL leads aren't that great quality, but I wanted to figure out what was actually going on. So we had this survey go out to 60 real estate investors. We had every real estate investor tell us exactly how many deals they're getting from every marketing channel, exactly what their lead quality is from every marketing channel. So we got some numbers to like put to this. And cold call, like this supports what you were saying, Cody. Cold call was about 55 leads to get one contract.
55. Okay,
55.
so I've been saying lately, and our data is around that 40 to 50. So I think we're kind of in line there.
Yeah.
So, and that's with a cold call agency, not personally.
Sure.
So I don't know if that would affect that if I was doing all the cold calling, or the wholesaler was doing versus a VA or something.
It'd be
is
way
that an
worse.
agency, like a VA?
Yeah, that's the idea of like 55 leads that the VA passes over.
Right. So
turn into one contract. But that VA had to go through probably
10,000, yeah, or whatever. Yeah. Yeah. So remember, guys, when we kick around the word lead, and everybody uses that word differently. So just to make sure we're clarifying, this is someone that raised their hand and said, yes, I want to sell, you know, off of a list. And then that lead went to the acquisitions person or the wholesaler, and he then attempted to close.
Exactly.
You're saying 60, is that what we said?
55.
55. So 1 in 55 of those is your conversion.
Right.
Okay.
If we look at PPL, it was about 22
Really?
leads to a contract, right? So much better, right? Maybe there's some of those types of leads mixed in, but it's got like better inbound nature for sure. PPC was about 20, so slightly better quality than PPL.
Okay.
The last data point that was interesting though is if you take PPC just from clients that are at Bateman Collective that completed the survey, it was about 10.
1 in
leads per
10.
contract. Yeah, so over double the lead quality compared to PPL and PPC traditional.
How many other agencies was the general PPC? Like just
We had about 30 of the respondents were just mixed amongst general agencies, and 30% of the respondents were Bateman Collective. So we had
you
about
split
half
test the two,
Yes.
between everyone else and
30% or 50%? 30 and 30.
It was 50% on each, 30 people on each.
That's significant.
Yeah, what we found is with another agency, those who completed the survey that were doing PPC with a different agency, it was about 34 leads per contract. Those managing it in-house were 24 leads per contract. Those working with Bateman Collective, 10.3 leads per contract.
I mean, that's double the conversion or more.
Significantly higher conversion.
I mean, that's huge, because the same ad spend, you're doing twice as many deals if you compare side to side. You guys catch that? So that's really great. In fact, I think I would agree with that, because we use you in some of my markets, Joe Homebuyer franchises.
Absolutely.
And I think we're right around that 1 in 10, 12 range.
That's like
on
gold
our
standard,
conversions. Yeah.
typically for PPC.
One thing you do good, Brandon, though, and this would be something that if you're doing PPC, just a side note, is it should be a partnership. So no matter who you're working with, it should look like a partnership, meaning that quality of close rate is probably not going to be that if I'm not working with you also with that feedback saying, hey, these leads came in, this is what's happened. And then you take that, your team takes that, and it does its thing. I don't want to explain the words because you would know that more than I could, but it is a partnership. Like that's one thing I've always looked at this is it's not just what can Brandon do for me. If that's the case, I don't know if any marketing channel is really that great. If it's always like, I paid, so you just need to provide. I think a great PPC campaign is more of a partnership. And because he's very crystal clear on what he's expecting in return from his clients, that's why that close ratio is so good.
Yeah. So Brandon, define again, just because we're doing a comparison between PPC and PPL, right?
Yeah.
In case somebody's not really crystal clear on what PPL means, explain what that agency is doing.
So basically, if I were a PPL company, I run my own campaigns. I do this on my own website. I could be running Facebook ads, YouTube ads, Google ads, SEO, cold call text, TikTok. Really, what I usually would be doing is kind of whatever gets me the cheapest leads while still being within some quality threshold. Because if they're complete garbage, then my clients aren't going to keep on buying leads from me, right? And then I get those people, they reach out to me, and then behind the scenes, I sell them to you, or I sell them to you.
But they typically will vet the lead, right? Like are they gonna pre-qualify and say?
Sometimes like in the form or something, but they're not calling these leads and like vetting them or something before they pass them on for like most PPL companies I know of. I don't know of any that do that. I'm sure there could be one somewhere. So that's where it's a little bit different. It's just like the form submission comes through and then I'm sending it to you or I'm sending it to you.
And then from the user perspective, what you can do is, because it's pay per lead, you're not running this campaign like PPC. There isn't an algorithm, nothing to think. You just, if I got $300 and I can buy one lead, I'll buy one lead. It's like pay to play or pay as you go is the idea behind PPL. So whatever your budget is, divide that by the cost per lead in your market, and that's how many leads you can buy.
Exactly. That's how it works. And it's kind of like, I think of it almost like the payday loans of real estate marketing, if that makes sense, because it's easy and it's fast and you can turn it on and off like a light switch. And if it doesn't work, you can buy 3 leads and then you can move on to the next.
Yeah, you literally, when you're in the platform, you can scroll through and say, I'll buy that one. And it got some information and you buy, pay the money and get the phone number.
Yeah, the issue is when you do that for a long time, the PPL company can change a lot of things. I, as the PPL company, can decide that now I'm going to have this marketing channel going on in your market instead, and your whole lead quality changes. It could be that you're doing great, and then Cody's going to come into your market and say, you know what, I'm willing to pay more money for those leads, and he single-handedly can double your cost per lead, right? Okay. So you're just kind of waiting for the rug to get ripped out from under you.
Okay, so what you're saying is one of the downsides is you have zero control over the lead quality because you have nothing, you have no part of where that lead is coming from.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And you have zero control over the brand. So like, let's just say you're doing PPC and Cody's doing PPL. In 3 years, where are you going to be? And where is Cody going to be? Cody's just been always doing like the next easiest thing for his business. And you're building like a real channel, a real asset. You're gathering your own data. You have your own account.
With PPC.
Yeah.
Why is that? What's different about PPC and how is it building on itself?
Well, it's your brand, right? I'll tell you the exact perspective I would have coming into it if I were acquiring businesses. I would say Cody's basically got a sales business. The marketing gets done by somebody else. He's got a sales business. I would say Jerry has a brand and a marketing and sales business.
Because they're clicking on my page.
Yes. Exactly.
They're coming in my form.
And every time that happens, you're building your brand in your market and you're building your data. And what is a business like? If you were to sell a business, what are people even buying? They're buying the team, the external business connections, and the IP, right? So in your case, you would have the actual IP of your marketing, which means it's more predictable, it's more scalable. And like what Cody talked about, where it's got to be a partnership, like that partnership doesn't exist with PPL companies, because PPL, I could start it today or I could start in 3 years and I'm just jumping into the same thing. Versus with PPC, it's going to compound on itself. It's going to get better and better over that time because you're gathering more data that helps you to optimize and dial in your campaigns over time. So there's reason to believe that even if you were starting behind on PPC, given enough time, you could eventually be far ahead because you're gathering your own data and building your own brand.
And that's why you typically recommend when you start PPC, you've got to give it a runway to really optimize, because the way Google rewards you is they want to reward the people that are significant. They're going to be here tomorrow. They don't like the fly by night in and out. They want to build with somebody who's going to be consistent. They're going to spend the budgets. They're going to be growing. So that's why, and they'll grow with you. That's kind of the idea behind Google, right?
Yeah, it's a data game. The more data you're gathering, the better you're going to perform. So if you are going to be in it for a long haul, then you're going to do a lot better on average.
That's most things. I mean, I look at, just take YouTube, for example, on the creation side. I'm a YouTube creator. YouTube's owned by Google, but they are very much about the algorithm. And the algorithm says, if you're consistent, you create a lot of content, you're getting time on your videos, we are going to promote you because you're relevant, you're significant. You're not like you made 5 videos and then we never see you again.
Exactly.
Right? You're here, you're doing it, you're building the brand. And so now when someone searches, because it's a search engine, you're going to show up because you're investing in the platform. And it feels like PPC is very much that too.
Yeah, definitely works that way. And even we'll have to talk about SEO in other videos even more that way. But there's elements of that to both. So it's like you're building a real asset compared to like if you got some following on TikTok that just like comes on one video and then it's like nobody ever follows you and it's gone, right? Yeah. That's the difference.
So is there a benefit? I guess my final question on this lie or this misconception is there a benefit for like a PPL, like someone that's barely getting in the game, has a low budget? Is there a world and a place that's like, hey, I want to see if I want to get into this game long haul? Because I know my answer long haul is I'm going PPC because I want this for forever. But is there a world where PPL fits for someone that's like, I don't have much budget. I have $500 this month. I'm assuming that can't afford a PPC campaign, but might be a good fit for a couple leads to get things. So, I mean, is there a world for it?
100%. And I'm, to be clear, I'm not anti-PPL. Yeah. I think whether PPL or PPC is better just depends on your time horizon. Yeah. If you're looking at what's going to be better this week, you won't even get a PPC campaign spun up this week. Yeah. You could buy some PPL leads this week. Yeah. Nobody's stopping you from doing
I would agree with that. I mean, you know, we're working right now with my audience with a PPL provider, and they're working out a special deal where you can get, you know, for $500, you can get X number of leads, and, you know, they're not going to be the exclusives. They're going to be the coupon ones that are open to everybody and things like that. But someone could feasibly come in right now today, fund the wall at $500 and be talking to 15, 16 people and maybe get a deal without any setup fee, without any...
You get some reps and it's fast.
You could get reps in, you could get all that things. And so I do think that there's some value there. But I think what your point is it's, and you and I have this conversation, Cody, you guys built an entire brand around becoming a local expert and investing in that goodwill.
That's right. That's
right. So that's sort of along these lines. Is like, hey, you said earlier when we were in our training, you said when people ask if I should do PPC, I ask 2 things: do you plan on being around a long time, and are you an idiot? You know, meaning like, are you going to be here for a while? When you look down the road, and I look at this like, I want to be in business for a long time. I've been in business for 20 years. I'm making decisions today that are going to have impact in 5 years, 10 years. I don't want to shortchange myself for a quick buck. I want to build something to last. 100%. And that's where a marketing channel like PPC, you're building something that's going to pay dividends more and more over time because you're building to the algorithm.
Yep, 100%. Yeah. Okay. Which is just different than PPL. And I would say a lot of, like many of our clients do PPL on the side in addition to their PPC. Yeah. I just get nervous if it's your main channel. Because it's like building a building on ground that's leased.
Or even you're building up the PPL's company's brand, not your own brand.
Yeah, one day their company's going to get sold for a lot of money, and you're just going to be
and you help build it
because you're just buying their PPC leads, right? Yeah, you're just like feeding into them like always, every second of every day, just doing the next thing that's best for you right now. Yeah, and not taking those steps to actually invest in the future.
But this is really like anything. Like, you know, is it good or bad? It's just understand what it is and see the whole picture and then make wise choices.
What do you want for your business?
Yeah. And then own your choice. Most people is probably both.
Yeah.
When you have enough budget.
Yeah.
If you don't, then it's kind of one or the other and you have to make a decision. But most real investors are doing both on some level.
The second biggest lie I think about PPC is that these leads are so good that I'm going to convert everyone. I'm going to make $1 million every time. And I've got all the time in the world to call them back because this is a hot lead I paid PPC for, right? It's inbound, it's PPC, all these are all gold. Why is that a lie?
I'm gonna let Cody speak to this one because he's been doing this. Some context here. Cody's team has been one of our best closers on PPC leads for now 8 years in a row.
8 years.
Yeah. This isn't like a quarter of experience.
I think you mentioned
this guy's been doing it for
how many millions of dollars has Cody's?
Yeah, about 9.5 million from a combination of PPC, SEO, and Facebook ads. Right. So that's not just PPC revenue, but if we're talking about like the online channels that we manage for him, 9.5 million.
Okay, so you've got some data.
Oh yeah.
You've got some data on Cody's business. Okay.
Yeah. So people look at Cody, who consistently closes on a high level in his team, and gives a lot of credit to the lead source. He's like, these leads are a lot better than this. So, and they just assume, well, if I get those same leads, I'm going to close them on the same level that Cody does. Even if I take the things that I do with my cold call leads and I just apply that to PPC instead or something like that. Whereas really what I think Cody's learned to master is how do we treat these leads differently from other channels.
Yeah, so why is it a lie, Cody?
It is, well, it's an urgency thing. It is not, I think you got to look at it is like cold calling, for example. Cold calling is going to produce a lead, but it's going to have a long nurture phase. We agreed that it's right around, 6 months from start to close on average. PPC's quick. These are people that are saying, I want to sell and I want to sell right now. And so let me give you just a scenario because I think the story will help sell it so you can understand the urgency and why this is so different than just any other marketing channel. And that is when it comes to a PPC lead, it comes in, we had 3 acquisition managers at the time. And the first guy, we do not believe in like round robin. We're not a round robin crew. This is whoever pulls out the gun fast gets it. it. That's it. Yeah. Because what if someone's in an appointment and they're in that appointment for the next hour and it was their turn to have the round robin? That can hose you. And a PPC deal, that's a no-go. So it's whoever's ready, go. Well, until they actually talk to the person, it's still free for all. And so first person called them, left a voicemail, text message, no answer, no answer, no answer. Second acquisition manager did the same thing. Called them, left a voicemail, text message, no answer, no answer, no answer. The third acquisition manager called, voicemail, text message, no answer, no answer, no answer. So 3 phone calls, 3 voicemails, 3 text messages, and that all happened under 10 minutes from the time the lead hit the email.
And this isn't special. This is like
normal.
Every lead gets
we do this.
Normal.
There are many times, like if you know his campaigns, they're filling out the first one. That's like the basic. It's like a name, a phone number, and an address. Then it goes to page 2. There's many times we're calling, like, oh gosh, I didn't know you'd be calling. I'm still on page 2. They're still filling out the actual web form.
I haven't put the address in yet.
Yeah. Correct. So the youngest acquisition, meaning the newest, it was a birthday for one of our acquisition managers. They're all having lunch. He finishes early and says, I'm just going to drive out to the house. Now, here's the key thing. Because it's a PPC lead, or I should say, because of 3 phone calls, 3 voicemails, 3 text messages, you can write a story and say, oh my gosh, like, this is a fake lead. Like, this is a bogus lead. Yeah. And you start writing these stories. And acquisition, I hear some of the worst stories that people tell themselves. I've heard them all. Mm-hmm. But I've even heard my own team. So guilty as charged. I've heard my team say, oh man, this is probably one of our competitors just dinging our website. Mm-hmm. Or you hear someone say, oh, you know what? This can't be a hot lead. Everyone has their phone on their hip. How do they miss the 3 phone calls, the 3 voicemails, and the 3 text messages?
It must not be for real.
Yeah, and they just write these stories. Youngest acquisition manager goes out to the house.
Nothing to lose.
Nothing to lose. So he says, I'm just going to go drive by and figure it out. Like, I'll find out why they're not answering the phone call. Go there. Here's the true story. The true story is she is actually lifting boxes in the U-Haul and her phone is up in the kitchen and she has not seen the phone calls. She has not heard the voicemails and she has not seen the text message. But an hour and a half later, he walks out with a contract that paid us $120,000. So urgency is when we have a PPC lead come in, our team knows, like, goal is not under 10 minutes. Goal is you call them before they're even off the site.
I remember Brandon taught me, this was when we did our first few videos in this series. And I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think you said that if you're even 30 seconds or 60 seconds after the form lead comes in with PPC, that you have a 50% fallout rate on contacting that client. Something like that.
Yeah, it might have been Robert who told you that. I don't know exactly what the stats are. And you'll find them like generic. I just don't know anything for like this industry specific. Yeah. What I can tell you is that it matters a ton. And we definitely see it. And here's the other thing. Like, a lot of people just assume, regardless of when you contact them, if you get in contact, that's what matters. But it's not just that. We find that our clients that contact leads slower, they have a harder time getting the lead to become an opportunity. And they also convert an opportunity worse.
Than if time goes by.
And think of the average. He said 24%, but his are at 10%.
Yeah.
Part of his training is to say, listen, we have someone like Cody Hofhine and Mark Stubler's team that this is what they do. So if you want to close like that and have a 10% or 10 leads per contract. This is what you need to be doing. It's not just the lead. The leads are hot. It's most people's process sucks.
So would it be safe to say then that if you're going to do PPC, you better have your processes in your business set up to where when that form lead comes in, you're on it. And no matter if it's 9 o'clock at night or you're at dinner or whatever, you better, if you're a solo operator, if you can't answer that form, you're wasting money now.
Yeah, you have to be on it. And you have to think about what the journey is that the seller's going through. So, because this isn't like direct mail where I'm going to throw this postcard on my fridge and I'm going to call you.
Yeah, put it on the bulletin board, you know.
Yeah. It's different, right? It's like if I searched on Google today, it's because there was some pain that drove me to do that today, right? So something in my life happened. And then today I'm going and I'm searching for a way to look. And the thing is, people will search until they found their solution. So the best experience is that I search and I find Cody, I fill out the form, and then what's going to happen if Cody doesn't reach out to me then? I'm probably going to find someone else, right?
Click on the next one.
Because I still have my pain, right? Whatever the pain is, that's still there. And I don't know if this guy's ever going to get back to me. I also probably want
More importantly, you could be on your 15-minute smoke break or 15-minute break, and you're like, I've got to figure this out in the next 15 minutes. So since Cody didn't call, I'm going to click on the next one. So it's not only I'm going to find someone else. I'm finding someone else right now because most of those people are also probably a 9 to 5 person, and they have an X amount of window to get this done.
Yeah. I'm in pain.
I mean, everybody's like, I just watched my son who has a cat, and I said,
You don't let cats in your house, do you?
Yeah.
For the love.
Yeah. Would you run it over if you saw it in the driveway?
Well, just because I'm public, I don't like cats. We got to talk to your son.
So the cat needed neutered, and I told him, you got to get this done. It's your cat. Take care of it. And I watched him. He went on the thing and he
Please don't tell me he did it.
No, he didn't. But he would call, and if they didn't answer, he didn't leave a message or anything. He just went click, called the next number. And he just called until someone answered and said, yeah, make an appointment. Yeah. That's how people are.
It's true. So let's just say, Jerry, you're the first one I reach out to. You don't get back to me. And then I'm going to reach out on Cody's website. Cody's going to call me. Cody's going to make me feel like his friend. He's going to make me feel like, even though my problem's not solved right now, I don't have a contract in my hand, I feel like Cody's my guy. I feel like he understands my situation. And then you're going to call me. And what am I going to sound like? Probably like a not that motivated seller because I already have my solution, or I'm not going to answer the phone. And then what's the story that you're going to tell yourself? Like, oh, it wasn't that good of a lead, right? If they were really motivated, they'd be picking up the phone. Meanwhile, because you were slow, I built a connection with him. And then now I'm selling my house.
And you may not even answer that next call because he solved the problem.
And in that circumstance, contact rate for you isn't necessarily decreased. You're still getting contact with your leads. You just think your leads aren't as motivated.
Because you took an hour to call it or a day to call it.
Because he gets to leads quickly, he thinks his leads are actually more motivated than yours. Meanwhile, they're the same people with the same level of motivation.
Interesting, isn't that?
Yeah.
But on top of that, we're willing to do the next step, and that is we do drive-bys all of the time.
I was going to add that to it.
All of the time.
So the Joe Homebuyer model that I prescribe to and believe wholeheartedly in is an appointment model.
Absolutely.
Right? Because guys, let's face it, with technology and this virtual wholesaling model here, people want to sit in an office in Phoenix and do deals in Oklahoma City. And it's great. It's wonderful. It's lifestyle, all those things. I get that. But when Cody goes on appointment and he's sitting at the kitchen table with that seller, he's walking out of there with that contract every single time.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's powerful. So are you saying, Cody, even on the PPC, you're not doing a one-call close, you're going on the appointment?
Always. So we're doing the basic things that we're always been since the beginning of when I got into the business. And that's you're looking for any kind of motivation, the 4 pillars, and then you're going out and you're going to go.
Even a PPC.
And you're often not spending 30 minutes at their house. Your guys are spending sometimes 3 hours.
Oh, yeah. I thought you were going to say 3 or 4 minutes. I'm like, no, I hope they don't do that. No matter how good of a deal it is no, it's definitely not that. It is definitely speed to lead, and then we're out of the house, and it's really the mindset is we're there till we get the contract, and yes, that can be 3 to 4 hours.
All right, and let's do one more. The third, I think, major lie, common misconception, is that PPC is too expensive for newer investors, or it's just a really expensive marketing channel, and therefore it's not for everybody, or you got to be already like the elite investor that can even start doing PPC. Why is that a lie?
Yeah, and the reality is there is some truth to it.
Mm-hmm.
But if PPC is too expensive for you, it's because someone else has a better business model than you. PPC is pay-per-click marketing. It's auction-based. So the world where it's too expensive for you is where somebody else is willing to pay more than you are. So why would that person be willing to pay more than you are? Well, maybe because that person is Cody Hofhine.
And I just want that lead more than Jerry.
Yeah, and maybe he's going to close at double the rate that you are, right?
Yeah.
So that doesn't have to do with Cody being like a big investor. That has to do with Cody being skilled.
A better investor.
A better investor,
Yeah.
good at what he does, right? So you will lose your money if you run PPC and you're not good at doing the things that are required on your side. But if you're good at making good deal spreads and you have reasonable contract fallout and you're good at acquisitions, then it shouldn't be true that somebody in your competition can outbid you.
So is a better way to say it, don't do PPC because it's expensive. Don't do PPC because you don't know how to close deals yet.
Right, because Cody could nail it with PPC even back when he didn't have as much capital to put into marketing channels and things like that because he had the skills to close the
Well,
leads.
and let's think about it. You know, it's too expensive. Why? Well, there's an upfront cost or you're going to buy the leads or whatever. But if you're having a 30 or 45 day cash conversion cycle, then you're only floating that money until you do the deal. You get this big return back in, and now you're reinvesting that cash into your next cycle of ad spend.
Right.
So is it really 30 grand or 40 grand or 50 grand to do PPC? Not really.
Not exactly from a cash flow standpoint. Yeah, because let's just say you put PPC next to cold call. And let's just say with cold call, we're dealing with a 90-day cash conversion. And with PPC, we're looking at 30-day cash conversion. Maybe with PPC, you're spending 10 grand a month. And with cold call, you might be spending 3 grand a month. Well, the thing is, by the time your cash comes back to you on cold call, you're 9 grand in. In PPC, you're 10 grand in. Right? So it does matter, of course, everything else, like the return on investment matters, but the cash conversion cycle is a really important part, especially if you're low on cash, because it's really like when you're low on cash, it's not about it is about the return on investment, but the other really important thing is how long does it take to get back? Because with PPC, then you just be reinvesting that same money. It's the same 10 grand.
I think
the
the other thing to factor into that isn't just the cash conversion cycle, but it's average assignment fees too, because cold calling typically has a lower profit to it, right? So like, let's say those are 15,000 average assignment fee because they're a little lower motivation, right? You're working that, you're following that up. Whereas the PPC are those very high intent, inbound, they got a problem, they need to close next Friday or they're going to lose the home or whatever. Yep. And so those ones you tend to get the deeper buys. So that might average 30,000, you know, if we're doing a comparison, 15 with cold calling, 30 with PPC. Well, you just, not only did you get your ad spend back, but plus a whole lot more. So you could start to maybe increase budgets.
Sure.
Hypothetically, right?
Yeah, you're 100% right. And one other detail I'd add though, of like the very real difficulty of this, I don't know if you ever went through a phase like this, Cody. You did a lot of direct mail in the beginning. A lot of people though, when they switch from cold call to PPC, that's one of the hardest times in their business. And the reason it's really hard is I think you need to think about marketing channels, not just from the standpoint of ROI, but also from the standpoint of ease of getting the deals closed. Because if you look at a company that runs on cold call versus one that runs on PPC, the whole staff is different. I was just talking to a friend of mine, a really established real estate investor in Utah, and he doesn't cold call anymore. And he had a good return on it. And I was like, why would you stop? He's like, because I don't want to run 2 businesses anymore. A prospecting business and a marketing business. They're two completely different businesses. And the reality is, if you're just doing this cold call and you have this business here, and then you're getting 100 cold call leads a day, and then you just sprinkle in some PPC leads in there, are they going to get the attention that Cody's talking about here, that he's giving his PPC
Well,
leads?
And think about the difference. Why is it different? Well, because when you look at cold call leads, you're outbounding them, you're contacting them maybe early in their motivation, right? They're not, maybe I'm ready or call me next month. Yeah. So then the mindset there is, I'm going to talk to these leads, but I'm probably going to have to follow up quite a bit. So you have this follow-up mindset with cold calling, whereas with PPC, you have this urgent, solve the problem right now. And so the closer, the salespeople have a much different perspective with the PPC leads because they're high intent versus the cold calling where it's more of a nurturing type of mindset.
Do you know what plays a role in that, over in that? You say like this nurturing, guess what happens during nurturing as well? This is what we found in our business. PPC is someone's motivated right now, and 9 times out of 10, we're the only ones on the appointment because they reached out to us. When it's cold calling and there's 6 months of nurturing to close it, guess who else has that same list?
Everybody else is
Everyone
also
else.
doing it. Yeah.
So when we look at like, why is it that there are bigger deals with PPC? It's less competitive.
Yeah.
Why is there less margin on a cold call deal? It's because there's more people doing the exact same thing. They go to the county website and they grab the foreclosed list. They call the same lead list that we have. And now they're like, oh, not only do I have a guy that wants my house, I have 6 people calling me saying they want my house. Now I'm going to listen out to 6 offers.
Yeah.
It's a different game.
Yeah,
So that's the other thing I love about PPC.
You'll see that all the time where you're nurturing that cold call lead and they have 5 offers on the table.
That's
and
correct.
Now you're competing with
Direct
everybody.
mail, same thing.
Yeah.
It's because if you're direct mailing them, it came from a list. If you have the list, mark my words, so does everyone else. PPC, that is the only world's unique list out there. Maybe Drive for Dollars, you could argue that that is unique to you. But PPC is unique to you, meaning someone is motivated right now, they clicked on your website. Chances are you're the only website. As long as you have the back-end process that our company has, you will be 9 times out of 10 the only one on that appointment.
And let's be honest, the expense, if the expense of PPC is a barrier to entry, that's good.
Yes.
That's good because
You're weeding
anytime
out the rest.
something's hard to get to,
That's
it means
right.
there's gonna be less competition.
That's absolutely right.
If it's hard to get, if it's exclusive, if it's expensive, any of those things, I'm all over it because if it's cheap and easy and accessible to everybody,
It's cheap and easy and more competition.
it's gonna be you're gonna make a whole lot less because of the competition factor. So like that, own that. Be like, man, I remember one time, Cody, I was trying to get this tax delinquent list.
Yeah.
And it was in this county. And when I contacted the clerk or whatever, they're like, yeah, we have this list, but we sell it. I'm like, oh, okay. Well, how much is it? And they're like, it's $2,000. And at the time, this was years ago, at the time I thought, oh my gosh, I want this so bad.
Yeah.
Yes, I'll pay $2,000. Knowing that if it was free, everybody else would have it.
Yep. Absolutely right.
I was so happy that it cost $2,000.
Absolutely right. And I want people to think of this if you are getting into PPC. The other thing to look at this is never look at your business as a cost. Cost is like, it's such a scarcity mindset. It's not an abundant mindset. So if we're going like psychology behind this, look at everything as investment. Now, that doesn't mean we don't make bad investments sometimes. You make a hire, that's not a cost. That should make you money, more money than the person cost to be there. So it's not a cost, it's an investment. Now, have we made bad investments? Yes, I've made bad investments where I hire the wrong person, right? But I have to look at PPC as an investment. It is not a cost. So I hear so many people like, it costs so much. I'm like, all right, like, thank you. Yeah. I'll just keep investing because my ROI is coming back amazingly.
So I think
it's our highest ROI channel.
I think my big takeaway with this, like, is PPC too expensive? This lie or myth about that. My big takeaway is that it's not that it's a cost. It's too big of a cost. It's that you need to get better at converting. Like when you look at marketing, you have traffic, generating leads, and conversion. Your ability to convert those leads you generated. And oftentimes in this business, everybody puts all the weight on the traffic side of it. Like it's all about leads. It's all about generating leads. And then we miss the step of converting those leads. And like I look at what I learned from Joe Homebuyer, Cody, is like, if you have an acquisitions guy and on Monday you give him 1,000 leads and say, work these, he's going to burn through them and look for the lowest hanging fruit and put very little effort. Yeah, he's going to look for the layups. You give him 25 and he's going to be working those 25. That's right. Really. So it's less about the traffic sometimes, and it's more about the conversion, your ability to convert those leads.
That's exactly.
What do you think about that?
Yeah, it's 100% true. I told this story in our in our other video series we did of the client I had that was killing it on cold call. They were doing $500,000 months on cold call. Wow. They launched PPC, spent $40,000 over 4 months, got 0 contracts from it. And they looked at it and they're like, it's not us because look at us doing $500,000 months from cold call. It couldn't possibly be us. They changed some things in their process, spent the same amount of money over the next 4 months, got 17 deals from the exact same amount of spend on a 10x return on PPC.
What did they do different?
They weren't calling the leads quick enough and they were overqualifying them.
Okay.
A lot of the stuff that Cody's talking about, right? Like they were like not going, they were not going on appointments because the seller was asking too much. Meanwhile, Cody's guys going on the appointment without the seller even answering the phone, just trying to make it to the house, right?
Yeah.
Different level of qualification and different level of urgency, and those are the things that made a massive difference for them, where they found that they could close. But it doesn't come down to like, are you good at acquisitions or not? There's such thing as good at acquisitions for a type of lead.
Yeah.
and bad at acquisitions for a different type of lead. But if you figure those things out, again, remember, there's an invisible hand behind PPC. Google doesn't tell you how much PPC costs. Your competitors tell you how much PPC costs. So if it's too expensive, there's only two potential options. Number one, it's a bubble, and that bubble's gonna pop, just like the market does, right? Number two, somebody else is more dialed in than you, and they're willing to pay it because they can be profitable.
And you know that because they're willing to pay more.
Somebody else has to be willing to pay more.
And I would not, the old adage, I think it's John Maxwell, it says, don't pray for it to get easier, pray to get better. Like, I love when I see a cost go up, I'm like, dude, someone's willing to pay that, there's something here. Like, there's a big fish here.
Yeah.
That means
Awesome.
I got to get better in my process.
Well, good. Well, guys, I hope this was really helpful to kind of break down some of these lies. Leave a comment and let us know if you thought any of those three things that we just talked about. If you were like, yeah, I thought that, now that that barrier's been lifted, I have a much better understanding. We'd love to hear that. Put in the comments any questions you might have. And guys, we sure appreciate you. And I'm going to put the link to the playlist because Brandon's done, I think, 7 or 8 previous videos, and we're going to build on this. We're going to keep adding to this library because I believe so strongly that learning these different marketing channels is so important to your business. And there are entire companies built on one platform of PPC doing multi-million dollars a year. And I think Cody can attest to that. I can attest to that. So the more you can learn and understand how this marketing channel works, I think it's just going to be vitally important to your success and your growth in this business. So those of you that want to learn more about how to do PPC, there's a couple of resources I want to give you. Brandon put together this really cool kit, which is going to give you a lot more understanding in depth on how PPC works, how to get started, how to really scale it. So there's a free resource. I'll put the link in the description below. And also to set up a call with Brandon's team. Again, Bateman Collective is, in my opinion, by far one of the best agencies in the business. They know what they're doing. They've got hundreds of millions of dollars of data gathered to understand how to do PPC well, which is to your benefit. So I'll put a link as well where you can sit down with Brandon's team, talk about what you need to do to get started, what your budgets are, what your market is. And Brandon will tell you, here's exactly what you need to do to get started with this and really see success with that. So we'll put that as well in the link. And guys, we'll see you on the next video.